Big news! Wayfair's President's Day clearance is on now, and you can score tons of huge deals. Like Wayfair's best deals since Black Friday. Right now through February 16th, you can score up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Like up to 50% off mattresses with fast and easy shipping straight to your door. Plus amazing flash deals on President's Day. Shop Wayfair's President's Day clearance now through February 16th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I came here to heal, I came here to grow. Lesson in love, they helped me let go. I chose this path, I chose this time. Everything I need, I hold inside. I came here to heal, I came here to grow. Lesson in love, they helped me let go. I chose this path, I chose this time. Everything I need, I hold inside.
Before anything in your life falls apart, it usually tries to get your attention in smaller ways. Not dramatic ways, not the kind that make for a clear story later. More like moments you move past because you don't have time to stop. Moments that don't feel serious enough to explain to anyone else. The tiredness that feels deeper than sleep. The way your patience feels thinner than it used to be. The sense that you're doing all the right things, but something still feels heavy. Those moments aren't random. They're often the first sign that something inside you is starting to shift. Welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Me, The Art of Starting Again. I'm your host, Tisha Michelle. And today we're going to talk about the quiet breakdowns, the moments no one sees, the moments we downplay, and the moments that usually come long before life actually changes. So when people hear the word breakdown, they imagine a single moment, a collapse, a crisis. Something obvious enough that no one could miss it. But most breakdowns don't announce themselves like that. They start to arrive slowly. They blend into your routine. They hide behind competence. You're still showing up. You're still handling your business and responsibilities. You're still being the one people rely on. And from the outside, everything looks fine. But inside, something feels misaligned. Not broken, just off. And because it's subtle, you start to convince yourself it's not worth addressing yet. And those quiet breakdowns don't usually look like tears on the floor. They look like emotional numbness. They look like going through the motions. They look like being constantly on, but rarely present. And sometimes it's growing impatient with things that you used to tolerate easily. And sometimes it's a lack of excitement, not sadness, not depression, just like a blah. And sometimes it's realizing you don't recognize the version of yourself who's making all these decisions. And yet the tricky part is this. Because you're still functioning, you tell yourself you're fine. But functioning isn't the same as being well. And it's definitely not the same as being aligned. And most of us were taught to respect urgency, just not truth. So if something isn't loud, painful, or visibly falling apart, we start to assume that it could wait. And if you've been the strong one, the capable one, the one who's rebuilt before, you're especially skilled at pushing through discomfort. You've learned how to survive pressure. You've learned how to override yourself when needed. But what once protected you can eventually cost you clarity. See, those quiet breakdowns often show up when the version of you who learned to survive is still running your life, even though your inner world has outgrown that role. So here's something that we don't talk about enough. When you ignore these moments, they don't disappear. Shocker. They start to accumulate. They show up as resentment, as exhaustion that doesn't lift, as a feeling of being disconnected from your own choices. And over time, you stop trusting yourself. And not because you failed, but because you're no longer listening. So that loss of self-trust is often more painful than the eventual change itself. So look, there's a specific kind of discomfort that shows up during these quiet breakdowns. And it's this feeling that nothing is technically wrong, but nothing feels right either. Your life might look stable and good on paper, You might be doing what you said you would do. You might even be meeting other people's expectations. And still, there's this internal pause. It's kind of like part of you is standing back, watching, wondering, how did I get here? And God, speaking from experience, trust me, that moment can be confusing because there's nothing obvious to point to. No single problem, no clear crisis, just a sense that you're living from habit instead of intention. And when that starts to happen, it's easy to question yourself, because who else are you going to question? You tell yourself you're being ungrateful. You just need to be grateful. Or you're being dramatic, or that you should just push through like you always have. Like, come on, you've survived way worse than this. But often, that pause isn't actual doubt. It's discernment. It's the part of you that knows you've changed, even if your life hasn't caught up yet. So instead of seeing these moments as warning signs, or maybe you look at them as like a personal flaw, what if you saw them as transitions? Not something going wrong, just something that's shifting. So these breakdowns happen when the life you built no longer matches the person that you are evolving into. The structure still works. The label still makes sense, but the fit is off. And continuing as is would require you to keep shrinking parts of yourself. So, this episode isn't about solutions. It's actually about permission. Permission to notice without judging. Permission to pause without panicking. Permission to admit that something feels heavy without immediately needing to explain why. So, this week, you don't need answers. You don't need a fancy plan. Just notice where you've been overriding yourself emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. Because awareness is the first act of rebuilding. So, in the next episode, we're going to talk about what happens after this stage. The moment when awareness turns into a quiet decision, even if you don't have the details yet. Because rebuilding doesn't start with action. It actually starts with honesty. So, if this episode resonated, share it with someone who's been holding it together a little too well. And if Rebuilding Me, the art of starting again, feels like it's speaking directly to where you are at right now, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Until then, I want you to take your time with yourself. Not everything that feels heavy is meant to be carried forever. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to Rebuilding Me, the sacred art of starting again. If this episode spoke to your soul, be sure to subscribe, leave me a review, and most importantly, share it with someone who's on their own journey of remembering who they are. And just know, you're not alone, and you never have to start from scratch. You're starting again, but this time with wisdom. Until next time, stay open, stay grounded, and trust your rebuild. And if you need help navigating this journey, make sure to visit www.tishamichelleofficial.com and book a sacred reset session.